launched this Com-Pac 16 for the first time was when I went down to the Neuse River for 3 days, and I suspected that this cockpit drain pipe might possibly at least have been leaking. This one on this side, port side over here, it was covered with white caulking, like silicone caulking all around it, just blobbed all around it. The other side was not. So I knew at least that at some point in time it had been leaking, and a previous owner had, just blobbed caulking all around it trying to stop the leak. But I went ahead and took a chance on it, and I took it on and launched the boat with intentions of being out for 2 or 3 days. And the first thing I checked was to see if I had a leak, and sure enough I had a little tiny trickle of water coming in, just the tiniest bit, not enough to be real concerned about, but enough to where over a period of 3 days it would have put a good bit of water in the boat. But I had brought with me a can of this, a container of this here stay afloat instant leak plug sealant stuff, just in case. Actually I had 2 cans of it with me, but I used about a half of one here. And this is just kind of a waxy, almost like a toilet bowl wax ring almost. I just work that around it with my hands, with my fingers, and all around it with the boat in the water, with that little trickle of water coming in, and it did stop, and I didn't have any more issues with it. This is not a permanent fix. This is a very temporary solution. But I went ahead about my business for going sailing for a few days, and just left it like that. But now that I've got it back home, I've got to clean all that crap off and dig out all that old caulking and get it back down to the fiberglass where that PVC pipe was originally fiberglassed in, and grind it all out, and then just reglass it back in to the transom, and that should solve the problem. I can tell on the outside too where it's been re-caulked from the outside from what would have been factory, so obviously somebody had tried to stop a leak before and mostly succeeded, but not quite. But like I say, that stop leak stuff is designed to be used, in a wet condition, even underwater. It can be used in conjunction with a plug or something too, or like if you had a crack or something, like you hit a stump or a log or something and had a crack, you could use that to smear into the crack, and it'd stop at least the majority of the water coming in. So it does work, and it did work, and but now I got to clean it off, because I got to repair that before I take the boat back out again. I don't want to trust that for a long period of time. That's a very temporary solution. And you can see there why I suspected it might leak. There's clear silicone all around it, and then there's also white, either silicone or 4200 or 5200. I think it's silicone, and it's not even adhering very well. I can get my fingers behind it there and kind of start peeling it off. It probably wasn't clean before they caulked it or something. So I've got most of the wax off of it, the bulk of it, and then I got to peel or somehow get all that caulking off of it and get it down to the actual clean glass and clean PVC, and then I'll glass it back together. Start from scratch pretty much and glass it back together. Fiberglass resin, polyester resin, either one, don't really tend to like to stick to PVC very good, so it's always a bit of a weak joint whenever you're glassing to PVC, or lots of other plastics too. It doesn't seem to want to really get a really good bond to it. And I'll show you here. I just took my little plastic spatula thing here, putty knife, and just went behind it, and it just peeled off just clean. It just peeled off clean. That whole big blob just peeled off clean. So there's no wonder it was leaking as far as the repair was concerned. Nothing was bonding to anything, like it was dirty when they caulked it maybe. I just pulled that much old caulking out right there, and it came off almost clean. There was one little spot on the far side where it had bonded. Everything else just peeled right out. This clear is bonded a little bit better, but it's not bonded either. You can see there, it's just peeling right out. So I've got it all cleaned out and everything sanded real good there. I used some 40 grit. Actually, I used a wire brush on a drill, first of all, to get the residual whatever out of the grooves of the cloth pattern there. And then I cleaned it really, really good with denatured alcohol, and then also cleaned it with acetone, just trying to break loose whatever was in there. And then I used that marine formula debond and let that soak for a bit, and then I cleaned that up and neutralized that with denatured alcohol, and cleaned all that back out again, wiped it back down with acetone again, and then I sanded it with 40 grit, and then I sanded it with 220 grit, and then I cleaned it all back up again real good, wiped it all down with acetone again. So hopefully it's clean enough to something to bond to it. And I'm going to mix up some thickened epoxy with colloidal silica and some fairing compound mixed in it to make it stick a little better and not run. And I'm going to just put a fillet all the way around that pipe, first of all, to get a little bit better of a radius. And then I'm going to take some, probably just some matte fiberglass, matte cloth, and cut little strips and lay in all the way around it and bond it back. Because the bond's good, it just evidently there was just one little spot somewhere where from the factory it didn't get quite sealed, and the other person's solution was just to blob it full of caulking. But I'm gonna basically do just like the factory did and cut little strips of matte and glass it back in all the way around good, and with overlap joints on the matte, just kind of blend that in good. But I'm going to do that a little bit of a fillet around it first to make it a little bit easier for the glass to shape to it good, and bring it out on the pipe just a little bit more here on the PVC just to get a fresh new bond on that. And I sanded the pipe as well. Well, it might not be the prettiest work in the world, but it should get the job done. At least I hope it will. I put that fillet around it first, and while it was still somewhat soft, put in the glass strips and epoxy resin, and then I wrapped the pipe with a wrapping of the mat and brought it out further out than it used to be. I brought my boat up here to Jordan Lake to go sailing a little bit, but also to check for leaks where I had patched up that cockpit drain tube, and I see no evidence of leaking, so that's a good. Just trying to tidy up this rat's nest of wiring that was in here. This is on this Compact 16. It worked, everything worked, but it was just wires just kind of dangling and hanging everywhere. I didn't do much to it, but I did put in a bus bar there and some new cables down to my lithium battery. Put in here, and pretty much what it was, just cleaned up just a little bit. Like I say, it's just navigation lights, anchor light, and depth finder. Got to put my hasp on here. It was put on just with some little tiny screws and it had pulled out like that. So I'm going to take and drill through and put through bolts on it. Working on the trailer on this boat this morning. The wires are cut in two. The trailer light wires are cut in two, where it's been backed into there and mashed the wires against the tongue there. So it's cut in two about 4 or 5 times. So I'm hoping that the lights will work. I'm going to start with just running a new wiring harness down through and hooking it up and see if the lights work. And I noticed that this hitch here is welded on the bottom, like about an inch here and about an inch here on both sides, which is good. But I'm going to drill and put in a bolt, at least one bolt as well. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that before I pull the wire, so I don't have to worry about hitting the wire with the drill bit. And since it's welded on the bottoms, I'm going to put a bolt on the top.